All right, guys, working with time. It is very common that during the day you need to make a calculation involving time. So, for example, you just want to work out how long it takes to finish the class, right? And how many hours left, how many minutes left, and you want to work out the duration of a sport event, or want to work out how long it takes for you to travel to one place, or using a timetable in the real life, or estimating a time duration for cooking or for anything. So this calculation may involve operations such as addition and subtraction, and sometimes we do need to use different ways that time can be calculated, right? So I'd like to show a few ways to do the time calculation. All right, so the first type of question is calculating the time intervals. So just say, for example, we start a school at 8:45. And we finish school at 3:05 in the afternoon, all right? And what is the time duration? All right, how do we calculate the time intervals? What is the best way to do it? I'd like to show you a few ways you can work out the questions like this. So calculating, time intervals. All right, we'll start with some simple and easy questions, right? And we're using mental calculations and not using calculator. I would like to help you to do the questions here. All right, so a simple calculation. So the first example would be 4:35 p.m. to 9:10 p.m. So how do we calculate the time intervals between 4:35 and 9:10? All right. Now, some students, they'll probably just using 9.10 and minus 4.35. Is this the right calculation to do? Well, the answer is no. That's not the right one to do. Okay, because you remember, time is based on 60, the number 60. All right, it's not based on the number 100, so you can't do the calculation like that. Okay, so we can use a few ways to do it, but for this question, how about we use some mental calculation skills, all right? So what we need to do is to think about 35 minutes, all right? That's 4:35. How about we change that into a whole number? Like I want 5 p.m. I don't want 35, all right? So I want to change that into 5 o'clock p.m. So 5 p.m. So what do we do? Well, if we add 25 minutes, then we can change that to 5 p.m. Now the reason we change that into 5 p.m. is it's just much easier to change 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Right? Because now the next stage is we're going to add 4 hours. So we can change that to 9 p.m. And then the question asks us to change to 9:10, right? Then the next one is really easy to do, which is plus 10 more minutes at the end. So that gives us 9:10 p.m. All right, so now what you need to do is simply add all the times that you previously added before, right? Combine all of those times together, then you get 25 minutes plus 10 is 35 minutes, and then we've got 4 hours and 35 minutes. That's a time duration. So that's a very easy way. I believe this is really easy to do the calculation this way. So you just simply break down, all right? The numbers. So you break down the time and you try to change it into the whole time, like a 5 or 6 or 7, those are like whole numbers, but plus the required minutes. And once you finish that, it's much easier to convert that into the time required. All right, let's try another one using this method. How about we try the question where we just talked about before, I want to calculate how long it takes, or what's the time duration that you stay at a school. All right, so the second example would be starting from, this is going to be a bit tricky this time, all right, 8:45 a.m. to 3:05 p.m. A bit tricky because we have a.m. and p.m. now, all right? How do we do this one using pen and paper, all right? The mental calculation, not using calculator, all right? Later I'll show you how to use a calculator to do the question. All right, so what do we do? I think the best way to do that is, how about we change that to the midday, all right, to 12, to midday. All right, so what do? I think the first step you do is think about this, right? I want to change that into a whole number. So what about if we just plus 15 minutes first, right? If we plus 15 minutes first, we are going to get 9 o'clock, right? So let's just using this color here. 9 o'clock in the morning if you plus 15 minutes. All right, that's much easier. Now, you can do the straight calculation from 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all right? But I prefer to do it in stage. So I want to plus 3 hours, because when you plus 3 hours, it becomes the midday, okay? So it just becomes the midday. All right, so that's much easier. Now, all you have to do is plus another 3 hours, and you convert that into 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And finally, plus 5 more minutes. All right, and then you get to 3:05. So very simple and easy conversion here. So after you finish all of them, you combine all the times together. All right, and then you can calculate what is the time duration between the two times. So 15 minutes plus 5 minutes is 20 minutes. 3 hours plus 3 hours is 6 hours. So 6 hours and 20 minutes. And that is the time that you stay at a school. All right. Now, obviously, there must be there will be so many different ways you can do the calculation. You know, you can add time, you can subtract time. Doesn't matter what you do. Find the method that is suitable for you to do it. I think this method really works very well for me. I like it. But if you do have other ways to do it, yeah, why not? All right, do the calculation. So that's pretty easy. All right. Now, this is finding, or calculating the time durations, right? Or time intervals using, I guess, pen and paper this time. How about we use calculator, right? How do we do it if we want to use a calculator? Now, from the last lesson, all right, there is a button on a calculator where you can change the time into hours, minutes, and seconds. We can use that button to help us to do the calculation as well. All right, so back to the previous calculation here. So 4:35 p.m. to 9:10 p.m. All right, what do we do if we want to use the calculator methods here? All right, so I'm just going to use a different color here. And you can take out your calculator and try, okay? So this is what you do. The first thing is you pay attention to these, PM and AM. If they're both PM or if they're both AM, then that's great. You don't need to change anything. And now it's what you do. You want to calculate the time intervals, right? You press 9, and you press the bubble button, which is this button here. And then you press 10. You press the bubble button one more time. And that just means it's 9 hours and 10 minutes. You don't have to do seconds since there's no seconds in the question. You press minus, because you're subtracting the time, you want to find the time difference. You press 4, you press the bubble button, so 4 hours, and you press 35, 35, and then you press the bubble button one more time, alright, and then press the equal. This is the calculation of what you can do on a calculator to work out the time durations, alright, so let me do it on my calculator, and I would like to see what do you get. Okay, after you finish that, all right, you are going to see that the calculator is going to display this number here. All right, so how do we understand this? All right, what does that mean? That means the first one, it means hours. The second one, it means minutes. All right, and then the last number here means the seconds. So as you can see here, that's 4 hours and 35 minutes, which is exactly the same as our calculation previously. So that's how you do it. Very simple to understand, very easy if we use a calculator. But just remember, press the bubble button every single time if you encounter with hours and minutes and seconds. You have to do it, one after each other. You can't just press 9.10 hours, right? Because 9.10 hours is different to 9 hours and 10 minutes. All right. Now, for the second question, what happens if one is AM, the other one is PM? All right, what do we do in this case? What we need to do here is we need to convert everything into the correct, sort of like a unit, all right? If they're AM and PM, it's not going to work like this. So this is what we need to do. If we want to use a calculator, the first step you do is to change that 3:05 PM we need to plus 12. So that gives you 15.05. So it's like change that into the 24-hour format. All right? And then once you finish that, we can use the calculator button, the bubble key, to do the calculation. So we do 15, and then we do 5, bubble button. We're finding time differences, so subtraction, minus. The next one is 3, bubble button. And then 5. Okay. Oh. I think alright, not 3, not minus 3, okay? So minus the previous one, which is 8:45. So minus 8, the bubble button, and 45, the bubble button one more time. Alright, and then you press equal. Alright, let's see what you get if you press that into your calculator. Alright, so the calculator will display 6, 20, and 0. And that just means 6 hours and 20 minutes. You got it. All right, so this is the way you do it using a calculator. Very convenient, very easy to do it. This is how you do the calculation, both, pen and paper, and a calculator, calculating the time intervals. All right, so the second example I would like to show you is how do we plus the time together. So like just say, for example, if we have 1 hour and 30 minutes, study time, and it takes you about 45 minutes when you go home. So what is the total time it takes? All right, so that's something we also need to know how to do the calculation for. All right, so adding time. All right. Add time durations. All right, to a given, all right, to get, to calculate the total time. All right, so what do we do here? All right, let's start with the first example. How about we do this one? 3 hours. All right, I'll just do abbreviation. It's just easier. 3 hours, 45 minutes, plus 1 hour and 30 minutes. All right, so what do we do here? All right. Well, I guess there's so many ways you can do this question. All right. The way I'll do it, I'll just plus the numbers together. All right. I will plus the 3 and 1 together. And then I will plus the 45 and 30 together. All right. And I will do the calculation later. This is the way I do it. If you have a better way to do it, yeah, why not? So 3 plus 1 is 4. And 45 plus 30 is 75. Now here's a bit strange. We don't write the time like 4 hours and 75 minutes. Because we know anything that's more than 60 minutes, we convert that into hours, right? So the next step you do is to change that 75 minutes into hours and minutes, all right? So break down that 75. So 75 consists of 160 and 15. And we know that 60 minutes is equivalent to 1 hour, right? So that's just equivalent to 1 hour. So that gives us 5 hours and 15 minutes. And that's the way you do it. Okay? Now, sometimes people say, hey, what about if I just break down that 30, right? For example, that 30 into 15 plus another 15. So I can combine that 15 with that 45. Yeah, you can do it. All right? As I said, there's so many different ways you can do a question like this. It doesn't matter, all right? As long as you do it correctly using all right, and it's something that you're comfortable, then why not, all right? All right, so next one is 4 hours and 45 minutes. And I want to plus 2 hours and 48 minutes. All right, so what do we do here? Well, I will still use the mark method, all right? I'll plus the hours by the hours, I'll plus the minutes by the minutes. So 4 plus 2 is 6. And 45 plus 48 is 93 minutes. Once I finish that, I'm just going to break down that 93 minutes into 60 and the minutes, right? All right, so start from here. So 93 is 60 and 33. And we know 60 is 1 hour. And that 633 is just 33 minutes. So that means the final answer will be 7 hours and 33 minutes. Okay? And that's how you do it. All right, so that's how you do it using pen and paper. How do we do it using calculator? Well, the calculator is really simple to do. All you have to do, for example, the first question here, 3 hours and 45 minutes, you don't need to change anything. You just press 3 bubble button, 45 bubble button, and then plus 1 bubble button and 30 bubble button. Once you finish that, press equal. Your calculator will give you the answer in this format straight away. All right? You don't even need to change anything. The calculator do everything for you. All right? Yes, that's all I want to teach you about working with time. Definitely practice more questions will help you to understand how to do the calculation, faster. All right? Thank you.